We could just start talking right now. Hello, Raul Russell.
Hello. How's it going, man?
I'm good, man. Thanks for taking the time to do this. I appreciate it.
For sure.
My friend, you are a Master Mason.
Yes.
You are a Freemason.
Yes, sir.
Is it true you guys drink blood?
No.
Okay, with that being said, I'm just joking, by the way. But of course, we want to get some things cleared up because so many times we hear about somebody being a Freemason, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Usually I might see it in a movie. You know, I hear them talk about it, you know, in hip hop and stuff like that. But what exactly is it to be a Freemason? What is Freemasonry overall anyway?
I think in a nutshell, Freemasonry is more or less a system of morality. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean, if you want to build yourself as an individual, there are certain things that you learn in a Masonic lodge. So unbeknownst to a lot of people, they're under the impression that we're members of the Illuminati and things like that, which is not true.
Mm-hmm.
But suffice it to say, it's all about character building. You know, how to develop your inner man and how to build yourself from the outside as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think in a nutshell, that's what it is. Like,
now, how did you get into it?
well, the way I got into it really was I spent years like reading up about it, trying to figure out what was what, and I kept hitting a wall. And then I said, you know what? Why not just go visit a lodge? So I went on Ontario Masons and kind of filled out who I was, my email address, my phone number, things like that. And then maybe a couple weeks or so afterwards, I got a call from a gentleman by the name of Ken Singh, who at the time was what we call in Masonry, District Deputy Grand Master. So each district has their own District Deputy Grand Master.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he called me, and long story short, we spoke for about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours.
Really?
And he was asking, it was a pretty like lengthy conversation.
Yeah.
And yeah, he answered all my questions, and he wasn't shy about answering them. And I was like, okay, well, based on my level of clarity after that conversation, I was very adamant about go visiting a lodge. So I went to go visit a lodge, and then that turned out to be the lodge that I'm now a member of.
Mm-hmm.
So, I have no regrets.
Like, did you speak to somebody about becoming a Freemason before you became a Freemason?
Like in terms of like another Mason or just like a family member?
Like, did you know somebody else who was one before? No?
Not personally, not at the time. So for me, I remember talking to my mom about it. Like, you know, hey, you know, I'm thinking about, you know, joining a lodge and becoming a Mason. And she wasn't angry. She wasn't anything like that. She was actually surprised. But then she was also curious, like, well, what about Freemasonry entices you? Right? So then I gave her my reasoning. I said, you know, well, a lot of examples of men in the world that are prolific figures or just your average Joes, based on the little that I read online, it was all about being a good person, making a good man better, which is a common motto amongst Freemasons, making good men better, or to be one, ask one, right? So, yeah.
So what really gave you the impression that it was going to be a real difference maker for you?
Well, for me, prior to joining the lodge, becoming a Mason, of course, I really wasn't fond of my circle of friends at the time, or just even, you know, the person that I was becoming at that time. I was very immature, to say the least. Bit of a chip on my shoulder kind of thing. And, you know, had a bit of an ego as well. So then there's certain things that, you know, came into place or came into being, or whichever word you want to use, during COVID in particular. It was a good example of there's things in your life you can't control. In addition to that, when people show you who they are, you gotta believe them.
Yeah.
Right. So I got tired of that, and I said, you know what? I want more. I want more. I want more for myself. And then, that 5 month period, everybody's home, everybody's locked up. I went down a rabbit hole trying to look up what Freemasonry is all about. Watching videos, and a lot of those videos were lackluster and if they weren't that, then they were.
But it's for that specific reason why I wanted to do a podcast like this.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think a lot of people might search Freemasonry, but you don't necessarily really find anything in depth, to kind of say. So I feel like actually having a Master Mason, and we'll speak about the difference between being a Mason and what a Master Mason is. But I feel like you probably don't get this conversation in depth on a daily basis, like something you can just search and find. I think they're, kind of a bit shallow. So I know you as a Master Mason now, you're a bit on a different level, I guess, than people who, let's speak about the different levels, right? Because
sure.
What is the difference between being a Mason and a Master Mason?
Well, there is no difference. I mean, you have 3 degrees in Freemasonry. You have your entered apprentice, you have your fellow craft, and then the third being a Master Mason. So you have some brothers who they get initiated, which is your entered apprentice, and then they don't advance to the other degrees, but they're still a Mason, right?
Out of their choice, they don't want to move to.
Yeah, like, you have a choice in life, and in the same thing in Freemasonry. Some people choose not to move up. Some people get initiated and they never come back. It just depends on the how zealous, rather, an individual is. So there's no difference between any degree within Masonry in terms of like you being a Mason. It's only what you learn in those degrees that makes it different. So, for example, I'll give you an example. One time I was in the lodge and we had a meeting, and I think I just got my 3rd degree, and I was like, yeah, I'm happy, like, and then I realized that this is what's beautiful about this fraternity is that I'm not better than anyone in this room. We're all equal, right? So that gave me my consolation to say, hey, yeah, I'm in the right place, right? No matter what race you are, what religion you are, or anything like that, there's no better or less than. No, it's all the same.
Do people typically have the impression that Mason are just white men?
Yeah, that's a bit of a stereotype for sure. I guess what you see a lot of times in movies is like when you see a Freemason, that is, in a movie being portrayed as a Mason, usually I guess they would be a white person. But I mean, again, that's erroneous because you have a lot of Masons from all over the world. You have Masons from Jamaica, Cuba, Scotland, Switzerland, you name it, whichever country, whichever religion. And what makes us all the same is the journey that we have gone through and experienced in the lodge, the principles that we've learned, that the fraternity has shown us, assuming that we were, again, zealous and looking for more understanding and further clarification, which I guess is the same thing.
So what are some of those principles that they teach?
I'd say integrity being the biggest thing. Again, there's no place for ego or, we're very much against that. For example, in the Masonic Lodge, when you're inside the lodge room itself, you don't talk about politics or religion, because throughout history, these two subjects, not exclusively, have been more, it's caused people to be divisive, to say the least. So there's no harmony in discussing that, especially if, you and another individual or another brother, in the case of a Mason, has a different point of view, right? So
that's interesting. Do you What was it like the first time you went to a lodge?
The first time I went to a lodge as a visitor, I was very nervous prior to walking through the door. But then when I went through the door, I was immediately relieved because I'm seeing people from different age groups. People who are old enough to be my grandfather, my uncle, people young enough to be my cousin or my brother. Pun intended, pun not intended, right? But I only say that to say, I saw people who were, again, from different walks of life, different races and stuff like that, and they didn't make me feel less than because I was a black man curious to join the lodge. Mm-hmm. They just looked at me as a person, and that's what's beautiful about the fraternity is there's no self-righteousness. There's no room for that. And if you are a self-righteous person, you're probably in the wrong place. Mm-hmm. But again, that's to each their own, right? But yeah, it's done a lot for me, for sure.
What do you discuss when you're in there? Because how often do you typically go? I guess like people choose when they don't want to go, they all go. Do they go once a week, once a month, or it just depends?
The latter. It really does depend. Some lodges, they meet twice a month. For instance, my lodge, they meet on the 2nd and 4th Tuesday of each month, with the exception of July and August, because we go on break. A lot of people want to spend time with their families and, that kind of thing, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's some lodges that meet once a month. So it really is up to you. Freemasonry is essentially what you make it.
Yeah.
I know ideally if you're an officer in the lodge, like you have different chairs in a lodge, right? So an officer, for instance, with his mother lodge, which we call his mother lodge, is the lodge he got initiated in, he's expected to be there, right? Whereas somebody who is not an officer may or may not come around all the time, right? But ideally, again, you're expected to be there as an officer. So
yeah. Now, a Masonic lodge, the building, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it just a Masonic lodge building, or is it shared like with something else? Because I'm wondering, how is the building funded?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
There has to be money coming from somewhere, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. So the way it works for most lodges, so you have your lodge room, and then we have a banquet room that we usually have dinner in prior to our meeting in the lodge. Oh. So long story short, sometimes there's lodges, most times anyway, they'll rent out the space to certain people, like for the banquet hall, that is. Mm-hmm. And there's a kitchen there that they have access to the kitchen. They can use that. And assuming that they're going to respect the property, they can come back anytime. But of course, it's essentially run as a corporation in that regard.
Yeah.
Right? So that's where the money would come in. But it's, yeah, I think that's the best way I could answer that. I might be leaving something out, but I think that's the best way I can answer it.
Now, I've heard that, so does everybody typically have to have an initiation, or how does that part work?
Oh, yeah. To be a Freemason, you have to be initiated.
What is that process?
Well, Freemasonry, again, to be a Mason, you have to be initiated. So the process is you are looking to join a lodge, let's say. Yeah. Right? And most times they want to see people who are very dedicated to being there, them getting to know you and you getting to know them. So there's that reciprocity, right? But then you have people who come once in a blue moon. Those people typically don't end up joining that particular lodge. So yeah, I know for my lodge in particular, I was coming around for several months before I got initiated, right? I was any function that they had or any little thing that they were doing, like, hey, we're going for coffee here. Anybody wants to come, they can come. And I would show up. Like, I was going all the time because I was really, really adamant about being a Mason. Like, I was like, yeah, I want to join. I want to do this. So again, it's what you make it. Like I was saying, like a few minutes ago, like, it really is what you make it.
What are the benefits to you of being a Mason?
Character building. A lot of people think that being a Freemason is like a way to get rich, and it's not the case. If
Yeah,
you're
guys like me. Are you
no,
rich and powerful right now because
N-
you're Mason?
no, I'm just a regular guy. There's no like pyramid scheme within Freemasonry. No, I mean a lot of people again have this preconceived notion, I guess, that joining the Freemasons or becoming a Freemason
Yeah.
is about, personal gain, money, and like status and all that. Yeah, there's an element of like networking naturally because there's so many Masons
Right.
of different walks of life and whatever have you. Some are bus drivers, some are like clinical psychologists or psychiatrists or whatever. But it's not about personal gain. It's about character development, how to use these different tools to build yourself as a man.
Mm-hmm.
So I heard a rapper, he's a Canadian rapper by the name of Mocha Only, and he said it perfectly. Freemasonry in essence is Boy Scouts for men, right? It's just teaching you principle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, there's definitely a lot of camaraderie involved. That's what you gain. It's not money. If anything, you're spending money. But
So
you're not, yeah.
do you think you could have learned all the things that you've learned as a Freemason without becoming a Freemason?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You don't have to. No, you don't have to join a Masonic lodge or become a Freemason or whatever to learn these things. You have plenty of men in this world, for instance, who have the characteristics of a Freemason, but they're not a Mason.
Yeah.
Right. So I wouldn't say like, yeah, like only Masons know how to be men. No. In fact, I think it simply helps you understand the importance of being one.
How?
Again, it goes back to the character building. You're learning different things about life yourself.
How though? How are you learning those things?
So for instance, in each degree, there's different there's different lessons about life. Right? And what
Okay, now we're talking here.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's different lessons about life that you learn. And you have different tools that you use that are symbolic of not just of the Masons trade in the guild, like going back in history to like the Masons Guild, for instance.
Yeah.
A lot of these tools are used symbolically to show you how important it is to build yourself. And we have certain lectures that also elaborate on those things as well, right? So again, it's all about morality, camaraderie, brotherly love, relief, and truth. That's what you learn in each of those degrees.
So I know somebody who's going to become a Mason,
Mm-hmm.
and they told me they were getting calls all times of the night to do different stuff,
Okay.
and you got to be there. Is that true?
No, I've never experienced that personally. I will say this. If a brother needs help and it's a dire situation, right, you would assume they would call the police, right? Okay, and that's valid. But there are certain instances where, a brother might be going through some hard times and it's like, hey brother, I know it's late, I just need to talk to somebody. I've been that brother to somebody where I've talked to them, and I've been that brother where I reached out to them when I was in a situation where I was stressed. But not in that sort of way that I guess the person that you're speaking about presented. Not to negate their experience. That could have been a reflection of that particular brother within the fraternity and not the fraternity itself, kind of thing. Because for the most part, most brothers, they won't have that expectation of somebody to just drop what they're doing at 4 a.m. But yeah, like if you do need help and it's not a life-death situation, you call somebody, then yeah, most brothers will allocate the time to speak to you and, be there.
what is your relationship like with your dad, and what is the experience that you've had in regards to talking to some of the other Masons
Mm-hmm.
and their relationships with their dad specifically? Did you find like there was any correlation there?
So my relationship with my dad is we're not extremely close or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a bad person. I like the way I describe my dad is how I describe myself. You know, I think we're both very beautiful people at our core, but we have a lot of flaws. And I think that's the mature way of expressing my lack of closeness, I guess, if you will, with my dad.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a certain level of respect that's there. I think that's fairly recent with each other, that is, right? But I don't think he's a bad guy. I just think, you know, he's a man of his time kind of thing, and he just comes from a different generation. He's a little older. You know, he's closer to 70 than he is to like my age. Like I'm 33, right? So yeah, so I feel like that's a contributing factor to that. But as far as me joining the lodge, I remember when I told my dad that, you know, hey, you know, I became a Mason, whatever. I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
But long story short, he wasn't really happy about it. Like he wasn't like yelling at me or anything like that, but he just expressed his feelings. He's like, you know, this is not a godly thing to do. It's a pagan thing, which in all actuality, that's not the case. There's no paganism involved in being a Freemason.
Yeah.
No.
Pagan thing. See, that's what we were talking about earlier, right? Like that impression that people have about the Freemason thing, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you guys have to deal with that a lot.
Oh, it's
Obviously.
definitely a huge stereotype. What people don't realize is that in order to be a Freemason, you have to believe in a supreme being, right? You have to believe in...
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, you can't be atheist or a devil worshiper and become a Freemason. No, not gonna happen. Like you'll never be accepted.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to believe in a higher power. So for a Christian, that is God. For somebody who's Jewish, that is the God of the Torah, for instance, and vice versa. Or in Islam, it's Allah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you have to believe in a supreme being. You have to be 21 years of age in order to be eligible to join. Yeah, but there's no there's no conjuring demons or portals of hell underneath the Masonic Lodge. That's all BS.
So
Yeah.
I heard you say before though that you had a chip on your shoulder. Why is that?
When I was growing up, like I was a really, really angry kid. Like a lot of things pissed me off. Whether it was people, it was mainly authority. I just didn't, I just didn't like it. Like, you know what I mean? And it was only through certain experiences in life where I started to be challenged by God in a healthy way that I understand to be healthy now. But then I thought it was like, oh, well, God hates me, right? But then I had a chip on my shoulder because, I was just like angry, single parent home, and that kind of thing. And yeah, I saw my dad and stuff every once in a blue moon and, whatever. But, I saw a lot of people, they had their mom and dad at home, let's say. And as a kid, it bothered me from when I was like a really young child to like my teen years. Yeah. But then after a while, when I was in my 20s, I started to realize, you know what? I'm tired of being upset. I'm tired of like just being immature. Like I used to be very immature, man. Like I just say a bunch of stuff, and a lot of times I was just talking for the sake of talking, as opposed to like actually observing, like, what is it that I'm saying? Is there a method to this? Is there a point to this? And it's like over time you realize, nah, just chill out. So.
Well, growing up without your dad is tough, man.
Yeah, it is.
It's tough, especially because when you live in a single parent household, that other parent has to work like hell.
Oh, 100%.
So a lot 100%. Of the time there's nobody around, right? Because I had to deal with the same thing, so you can get yourself in a bit of trouble at the same time, right? Because like I mentioned, one parent's not there, the other parent's working like hell. Yeah. So it gives you a whole bunch of time and freedom to do a bunch of stuff that you shouldn't be doing, but you're doing it anyway because there's nobody around.
Well, that's just it, right? Like, there's nobody around, yeah.
And then at the same time, like you mentioned, if you're angry, before you get angry, there's a sadness that's in there.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And then that sadness turns to anger, And then depending on if you're smoking anything and you're drinking anything, then it can enhance it and make it worse, right?
Absolutely.
And so I find, a lot of kids in our community are going through that. I don't know if I'd classify it as a lot, but many.
Yes.
Yes. And I mean, from you being a Mason now, from what you've learned, what advice would you give to kids who are experiencing what you've experienced in that regard?
Yeah, I like this question. So for me, I would say don't be so short-sighted. There's more to life. There's a lot to learn, and there's a lot to offer in this life. And you only live once, so you might as well slow yourself down so that you can actually receive the blessings that are meant from you, or that are meant for you, excuse me. Because a lot of times when we don't make that time to understand who we are so that we don't become this bitter person as the years go by, right? It's up to us essentially to look within and say, hey, I'm not okay right now. This needs to be fixed. No one's going to come and save me to fix it. Yeah. Right.
That's an important part too, because I think a lot of the time when you're young, you kind of think that way. Somebody's going to come save this. And then as you start getting older, and I think that's when people start to figure it out. Like when you understand and you come to the realization that nobody's coming to save you.
Yes.
I think like you understand what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And that's what and another thing that I found out too, now that you bring this up, I'm glad you did, because like I said, nobody's coming to save you. And then understanding that no one owes you shit.
Exactly.
And I think for a long time, I might have struggled with that. I struggle with that too. Like for some reason, there's an entitlement, like, I'm owed something. And then one day it just clicks and you figure out chip on your shoulder is there because you believe that somebody owes you something.
Exactly.
Nobody owes you anything. You got to get after it and get what you get from the work that you put in. You know what I mean? You can't be angry about not getting the results that you want from the work you weren't willing to put in.
Yes.
Yep. And so it's just over time, man. But like, are these the kind of discussions that you have in the lodge or stuff like that? Do you speak about these kind of things as well? Or?
So what we talk about in the lodge is like, for instance, if you have an issue with a brother and it's so serious that you can't be in the same room, it's strongly advised that one of you leaves. And if it gets to a point where it's really bad, then you should probably both leave, because there's a certain level of harmony that is expected to be maintained within a Masonic lodge. And a lot of brothers are very adamant about maintaining that harmony, myself included. But yeah, we definitely talk about like how to deal with confrontation, and why it's important to deal with it, not just in the lodge, but in life.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
these are life lessons that you're being taught as a Freemason. To me, Freemasonry is it's healthy masculinity. You know, and I think I said that earlier, but maybe I didn't. I don't know, but it is healthy masculinity. A handshake still means something when you're a Freemason, right? Both from a Masonic esoteric standpoint and also from a principle standpoint. Like, hey, remember, hey, is it okay if we do this? Can we shake on it? Okay, cool. We shake on it. 9 times out of 10, that's honored. You're always going to have one person. Not everybody's a peach. Let's be real.
Yeah,
we're human beings at the end of the day, right? We have flaws. Like,
nothing is ever 100%, right?
Never.
Yeah.
Never. And exactly. Never. So I don't know what else to say. Just never know.
Now, is there a way, let's say you're out of your city, you travel to somewhere else. Maybe you don't even have to travel to somewhere else. You're just on the street randomly. Do you meet other Freemasons? Like, can they identify each other?
Oh, yeah. We have ways of identifying each other. Sometimes it's just a vibe. And sometimes it's like they might say something that is what you hear in the lodge. Or some brothers might wear a ring, and mind you, not everybody that wears a ring is a Mason. Some people just wear it because it's like, oh, it looks cool, right?
Some people have a little chain.
Yeah.
Where it shows.
But yeah, some people have a chain and it shows, but not everybody that has a Masonic ring is a Mason.
Yeah.
And I've experienced that on quite a few occasions.
Really? What happened?
Well, even like
that's offensive to a Mason, isn't it?
It's offensive to some, and then there's some that, they laugh at it and they're just like, okay, well, whatever. It just depends on the brother. But I know for me personally, speaking for myself, I think it's insulting when you wear anything that has a lot of significance and you don't understand it. Not just a Masonic ring, but even if it's like let's say a particular religion. A lot of people wear crosses around their necks and they're not Christian. But it's like, oh, it looks cool. Like, you know what I mean? But it's like, I don't know. If you don't know what it means, you should be careful. You know, maybe it might have something to it that's you're not ready for. Right? Not saying that in the case of the cross or the Masonic symbol, like the square and compass and the G or whatever.
I was going to ask you what the symbol is.
Well, it's just mathematical tools in a sense. Like you have your square and your compass, right? And that's pretty much it. What the G means is something that I can't really explain. But suffice it to say, these are just mathematical tools. So going off of that alone, it kind of gives you a pretty I guess, rudimentary understanding of what we're about when we talk about tools and symbolism.
So when you've ran into somebody before who is wearing the Mason symbol, how did you know that they weren't a Mason?
There's certain questions you ask, or there's certain like ways that you can like kind of get a feel that they're not or that they might be. And there's times again where I was like, okay, yeah, you're definitely a brother for sure. We exchanged numbers. And then there was an instance rather, which I was going to say earlier. I'm kind of all over the place. I tend to jump
that's
around
good, man. That's
quite a
good. That's conversation. Baby.
So I remember I was heading home about 4 weeks ago from work, and there was 2 gentlemen that I saw. They both had Masonic rings on. And the first guy, I saw him and I was like, hey brother, da-da-da-da-da, how you doing? And then I was asking him, oh, so which lodge are you with? And he's like, huh? And I was like, like your lodge, like your mother lodge, like what's your lodge? And he was like, and that was his expression. And I said, well, Okay, so that ring, that ring you're wearing, it's a Masonic ring. Oh, this? Oh, yeah, I just wear it because it looks cool. And I'm like, in my head, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay, I see, blah, blah, blah. So fast forward, like, maybe 10 minutes later, and I'm waiting for my, I was waiting for my go bus or whatever.
Yeah.
And I said to him, I said, if you don't know what that means, you probably shouldn't wear it. No disrespect to you. I said, you seem like a decent guy, but he's like, oh, are you a Mason? I said, yeah, I'm a Mason. Oh, well, you don't have a ring. I was like, I'm not a jewelry guy. I'm not really into jewelry or anything. Like, I have my wedding ring. I was like, it's the only one I really care about.
Yeah.
Like, a ring doesn't make you a Freemason.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have special powers. Like, it's not Harry. Like, this isn't Harry Potter. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is real life. So it's funny. Like, I was like, yeah, I don't care to wear one. I said, it doesn't matter to me. I said, it doesn't mean anything beyond it just being a ring. But what that symbol means to me, based on what I've learned and experienced in the lodge, that to me is more significant, I guess. But that's just one example.
Do you have another one?
I do, and it was actually the same day. Actually, it was within the hour, believe it or not.
What is that one?
So the second story is with another gentleman. Again, this is maybe an hour again after I met the first guy, and I said, "Hey, brother, how you doing?" Same thing, same questions. How you doing? What's going on? I said, I like your ring. And he's like, hey, I can't talk about that. It's a Masonic secret. And I said, what is? He's like, oh, I'm a Mason. I said, oh, me too. I said, and I was just like, you know what I mean? But at this point, I knew he was like full of crap, excuse my language. But
yeah.
And I'm like, me too. And he's like, oh, okay. I'm like, yeah. I said, which lodge you with? He's like, well, I can't talk about it. It's secret. I'm like, no, it's not. He's like, we're brothers. Like, we can talk about this, right? And, he just couldn't get over the fact that, like, I was being serious and that I essentially embarrassed him. Not deliberately. Like, for me, it was a bit of hyperbole on my part. But, it's like, you got to be careful. You never know who you're going to meet. Just because I'm not wearing anything that gives it away doesn't mean that, that's not who I am.
But are you saying like it could be dangerous for somebody to do that?
No, it's not dangerous. Like no Mason that I know is going to like hurt you because of it. No. Mm-hmm. No. It's more of like a respect thing. Mm. You know what I mean? Like for a Mason, again, we're men of character. That's what our aim is. Yeah. So we're not going to allow our egos to get the best of us in those situations where it's like, you know what? I'm going to hurt this guy. No. A true Mason would never say that and would never do it. Mm-hmm. They would just look at it and maybe, or kind of frown at it like, you know what I mean? So it might just leave a bad taste in his mouth, worst case scenario.
Is there any times, because I know you guys say you meet up at the lodge, right? Do they have any meetings where different Masons meet up from around the world?
Yeah, so typically what happens is if you travel to different lodges, whether in your district or a different country, you'll find that there's always somebody from a lodge, let's say in Japan, for instance. My lodge had an installation just this past month in May, the beginning of May, and there was brothers that were from the Philippines, and they're Masonic lodges. It's in Manila, let's say. Oh. All right. So, and you have some brothers who travel from the U.S. Yeah. Like Kentucky or Ohio or something like that. Yeah. And as long as they're a Mason in good standing, they're allowed to visit any lodge.
So the status can be revoked or?
Status.
Like because you're initiated to be a Freemason.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, for sure.
Is there somebody who can say, because of maybe your actions or something that you do, that you're not a Freemason anymore?
The only way that you could no longer be a Mason as far as like one in good standing, that is if, let's say, you have a criminal record and, like, you know, you're probably not going to be welcomed into the lodge, depending like on the severity of the situation. And not only that, some brothers, they demit and they don't want to be a part of the fraternity anymore. They're like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, that does happen on a micro level, but it does happen. But yeah, like,
so when you get initiated to actually be a Mason, right?
Yeah.
If you're not going to the lodge anymore and you're not speaking to anybody, are you still considered a Mason?
Yeah, you're still considered a Mason if, let's say, you don't go to the lodge like you just said, but then you're paying your dues. You're paying your annual dues in a lodge.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're still on paper considered a Mason in good standing, right?
Okay.
Because there's a lot of brothers like that where they haven't been to the lodge in years, but they still pay their dues every year to keep their membership.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe one day they might change their mind and come back again. Like, I don't know.
Right.
But, yeah.
Because, I'm only asking that because if people are willing to pay to be a Mason and have that title, there has to be benefits.
But again, the benefits are not financial. They're strictly
Character building.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, again, like they think it's the opposite of that. That's why I said to you earlier, like, you don't have to become a Mason to like build yourself as a person.
Yeah,
it's not necessary. It's
Mm-hmm.
just if you want to, then it's there. Like, you know, and it's funny because I was talking to my wife a while back, and I was talking about, you know, if we have a son one day, you know, I told her, I said, if it's any consolation, if we have a son, he doesn't have to become a Mason. I don't care.
Yeah,
I'd love it if he did, and I'd support him, but it's not mandatory. You're still my son. You're not.
Do they have females in there?
They have female appendant bodies within Freemasonry, but they wouldn't be considered Freemasons per se, depending on where you are. I know in England, for instance, they have women who are Freemasons.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about Canada, so I don't want to speak on that because I'm not sure. For all I know, there could be, but I haven't come across it personally. Yeah. But there might be. But I know in Freemasonry, the appendant bodies you have are you have the Order of the Eastern Star, which is open to women who are traditionally related to a Mason, be it their brother, their father, their husband, that kind of thing. And then you have the Order of the Amaranth, which is akin to the Order of the Eastern Star. Yeah, and then you have youth groups as well. They have Demolay for boys age 12, to 21. And a lot of those boys that are part of Demolay end up becoming Masons once they reach 21. But again, it's not mandatory.
Right.
And then you have Rainbow Girls, which is the same age bracket, 12 to 21 as well. Yeah, there's a lot of appendant bodies.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I got a couple more for you before we get out of here, right?
Yeah.
What has been your best experience thus far being a Mason?
My best experience so far being a Mason would have to be feeling proud that I was able to build a relationship with God again.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't expect that out of becoming a Mason because for a while, I believed that there was something greater than myself. I didn't know what or who, but I knew there was something bigger than me that had a divine plan, if you will. But yeah, it definitely strengthened my faith. I think that's the biggest thing.
I think it's interesting, though. You said strengthening your relationship with God again.
100%.
What was so it looks like it was strengthened at one point, and then what made it go away? at a certain point
Like
that
prior?
you had to strengthen it back up.
Again, just certain things happen in life, and I'm just like, if God's real, like, why are all these things happening to the people around me? Why?
Mhm.
Like, why is that? Including myself at that time.
Yeah.
And then I realized that my only way of connecting with God at that time was when things were going good for me. And I was like, hey, things are good, and I'm on a high, like a natural high.
Yeah.
And then when things are bad, I'm like, oh, God, this, why would you do this? And then I realized through the course of time with this fraternity that, God is always going to be there for you.
Mm-hmm.
And all these tools that are given to us in life, not just in Masonry, but in life as well, it's from God.
Yeah.
It's because of God.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about dogma. I'm just saying in the sense of like spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
And there's another thing that I gained from it, and that is having real friends, like actually having like healthy friendships, like really healthy friendships, to the point where it's not, oh, well, I'm going to do this for you, and because I did this for you, you better do this for me kind of attitude. It's nothing like that. And at least for the brothers that I've met, I've never met a brother like that within Freemasonry. It was always like, hey, brother, can I get your help? Yeah, sure. And they helped me, and I'd reciprocate that.
Yeah.
And it's just knowing that they wanted to do that. It wasn't like they were forced.
Uh-huh.
And then that whole principle of showing appreciation and gratitude, again, it just gave me further incentive to like want to delve into more about what these esoteric teachings are within this fraternity, because it's in a manner of speaking, it's very esoteric.
What would be your pitch to someone out there who's contemplating? Last question, by the way.
Yeah, no, it's so cool.
Your
It's okay.
pitch to someone contemplating becoming a Freemason. They're 50-50, sitting on the fence right now.
Honestly, for somebody who's on the fence about it, I would say just go visit a lodge. We don't solicit anybody, so it's not like, oh, you have to sign this paper and join. There's no pressure.
Yeah.
If you want to come once and you never come back, okay.
Yeah.
If you want to come all the time and check it out, then you will get your answer. Your 50-50 will be, the 50% that's not sure
Yeah.
will be certain the more you visit. Yeah, that's it.
Raul Russell, appreciate you, my man. Thank you, brother.
Of course, bro. No problem.